Pope Francis has embraced a rising figure who could dramatically alter the future of the Catholic Church, Cardinal Luis Tagle. Their close partnership has sparked significant interest and, at times, controversy. In a moment that is capturing attention, Pope Francis has made the decision to reveal the truth about Cardinal Tagle, raising questions about his role in the future of the Church. Why is Pope Francis choosing to share this now, and what might this mean for the Church's influence on the global stage? Let's dive deeper into this pivotal moment. The relationship between Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle is rooted in a complex loyalty, grounded in shared ideologies and mutual admiration. Their bond goes beyond mere collaboration. It represents a shared vision for the future of the Catholic Church. Cardinal Tagle embodies the same values as Pope Francis, values of simplicity, hospitality, and a deep sensitivity to the needs of the people. From the very beginning of his papacy, Pope Francis has envisioned a church that prioritizes the poor, and Tagle's work in Manila before becoming a cardinal perfectly embodied this vision. His connection with the everyday people and his focus on their needs mirrored the very message Pope Francis wanted to spread across the world. Pope Francis, deeply influenced by Cardinal Tagle, believes in empowering the clergy to do more than deliver motivational speeches. The two men share a vision of a church that remains relevant, even in times of hardship and adversity. Their partnership truly reached operational heights in 2019 when Pope Francis appointed Cardinal Tagle as the prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples. This position, often referred to as that of the Red Pope, is one of immense power, overseeing missionary activities across continents. Through this appointment, Pope Francis entrusted Tagle with shaping the future of Catholic evangelization, particularly in regions such as Asia, Africa, and Latin America, areas that are pivotal for the future of the Church. But their relationship is not just a professional one. Both Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle have emphasized the importance of compassion over rigid doctrine, advocating for conversation over polarization, and action over empty words. Their shared experiences in dealing with backlash from traditionalist factions within the Church have only strengthened their resolve. Both men are committed to a vision of a church that is built on love, humility, and a deep sense of humanity. Cardinal Tagle's leadership style, evident in his actions during Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, reinforced his reputation as a leader of mercy. His quick response and compassion during the disaster cemented his image as a leader who truly lives out the values Pope Francis espouses, a church of mercy. Beyond his charity work, Tagle's theological competence and inclusive approach to evangelization have made him a role model for liberal Catholics worldwide. Pope Francis has consistently emphasized that church leadership must not be confined to a clerical elite but should serve as a beacon of outreach to those who have been forgotten or forsaken by society. In recent remarks, Pope Francis has hinted at a long-term vision for Cardinal Tagle, which has led some to speculate whether his growing influence within the Vatican signals a shift in the Church's direction. Born in 1957 in the Philippines, Cardinal Tagle's life story is one of profound dedication to his community and the poor. His journey into church leadership began in earnest when he became Archbishop of Manila in 2011. His appointment was met with praise, particularly from overseas Filipino workers, who admired his humility and commitment to social justice. Tagle quickly became known as a reformist, refusing to succumb to the materialism and greed that often characterized church leadership. His focus on missionary work and passion for justice has made him incredibly popular, earning him the nickname Asia's Francis. His rise through the ranks of the Vatican was marked by several key promotions, which revealed his increasing power within the Church. As president of Caritas Internationalis, a Catholic charity organization that operates in 165 countries, Cardinal Tagle championed campaigns against poverty, hunger, and climate change. His ability to foster communication between different cultures and ideologies within the Church made him the ideal candidate to lead the Church's global evangelization efforts. His appointment as prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples in 2019 was a turning point in his career, placing him at the forefront of the Church's mission to spread the gospel across the world, particularly in non-Western countries. Tagle's popularity and influence have only grown over time, and with it, speculation about his future in the Vatican. Could he be a candidate for the next pope? If so, what kind of church would he lead? Under Pope Francis's leadership, the church has increasingly focused on the marginalized, positioning itself as a church for the poor. This shift has been supported by Cardinal Tagle, who is deeply committed to advocating for justice, kindness, and compassion, particularly toward those on the peripheries of society. As Cardinal Tagle's influence continues to rise, it is becoming increasingly clear that he is not just a powerful figure in the Vatican, but a potential leader of the global church. His commitment to evangelizing to the most neglected regions of the world, coupled with his emphasis on interfaith dialogue, places him as a key figure in the future of Catholicism. However, this growing influence is not without its critics. Some have questioned whether the Church's focus on social causes could overshadow its core doctrines. This tension highlights the challenges the Church faces as it navigates the rapidly changing world around it. As speculation about Pope Francis's successor continues, Cardinal Tagle stands as a hopeful figure for progressive Catholics, offering a vision of a church that is more inclusive, compassionate, and focused on the needs of the marginalized. However, his rise within the church is not without resistance. Some traditionalists have raised concerns about his approach, particularly his emphasis on modern issues like climate change and social justice. These debates, however, are reflective of the broader struggle within the Church between those who seek reform and those who hold steadfast to tradition. Cardinal Tagle's journey is far from over, but it is already clear that he is making a lasting impact on the Church. His leadership, marked by humility, cultural sensitivity, and a deep commitment to justice, positions him as a key figure in shaping the future of Catholicism. However, as the Church continues to face internal and external challenges, the question remains, will Cardinal Tagle's vision of a compassionate, people-centered church win out, or will the more traditional power structures of the Vatican prevail? The competition between Cardinal Tagle and other prominent figures, such as Cardinal Pietro Parolin, highlights the ongoing power struggle within the Vatican. While Parolin, with his diplomatic experience and conservative views, represents the traditional church, Tagle's progressive approach challenges these conventions. This dynamic will undoubtedly shape the future of the Catholic Church and its ability to navigate the complexities of the modern world. As the Church faces growing challenges in a rapidly changing world, the question of leadership becomes even more crucial. Will the Catholic Church continue to embrace the vision of Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle, or will it revert to a more traditional, hierarchical approach? The answer to this question will define the Church's direction for decades to come, and with it, the legacy of its next leader. Cardinal Luis Tagle has played a pivotal role in Pope Francis's vision for the Catholic Church, a vision deeply rooted in justice, kindness, and compassion. Together, they are working not only to reshape the future of the Church, but also to address some of society's most pressing issues. Their shared focus on the margins of society has allowed them to advocate for a church that stands as a sanctuary for outcasts and those often overlooked. This approach has helped redefine the role of the church, making it more relevant in today's rapidly changing world. Pope Francis's emphasis on the marginalized is clear in his leadership and is deeply supported by Cardinal Tagle's efforts. As president of Caritas Internationalis, Tagle has spearheaded numerous initiatives addressing hunger, providing shelter for refugees, and confronting the global challenges of climate change. His ability to marshal resources, engage diverse stakeholders, and mobilize action has firmly established him as a key figure in the Church's charitable mission. A cornerstone of his leadership is his deep belief in the power of listening. Cardinal Tagle often reminds us that if you listen, you dispose yourself to love, suggesting that true empathy and compassion begin with understanding those who suffer. His approach prioritizes dialogue and actively seeks to amplify the voices of those on society's periphery. However, the focus on the margins has not been without controversy. Some critics argue that this emphasis on social causes might overshadow the core doctrines of the Church. These detractors claim that Pope Francis and his supporters are risking the Church's foundation by focusing too heavily on political correctness. Despite this, Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle remain steadfast in their belief that the Church must adapt to contemporary issues or risk becoming irrelevant in the eyes of the world. Cardinal Tagle's role goes beyond humanitarian efforts. He is also advancing Pope Francis's broader vision for a church that engages with the world's challenges. His work in fostering interfaith relations has been particularly notable, as the Church seeks to build bridges in a world that is increasingly divided. Engaging in meaningful dialogue with those of different faiths, Cardinal Tagle believes, can help foster tolerance and unity, values that lie at the heart of Pope Francis's message. Together, Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle are working to bring the Church into direct contact with the people. In many ways, they are building modern Catholicism before our eyes, one that is more inclusive, compassionate, and in tune with the needs of the most vulnerable. This vision raises an important question. Could this new focus on the margins represent a fundamental shift in the Church's mission, especially in the context of a rapidly changing world? Behind the scenes, however, this focus on reform is part of a much larger power struggle that has been shaping the Catholic Church for centuries. In the heart of the Vatican, where tradition meets the challenges of the modern world, a silent tug-of-war is taking place. The ideological battles between reformists like Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle and conservatives within the Church form an ongoing drama. Pope Francis's papacy has already ushered in significant reforms, challenging entrenched power structures and calling for a more decentralized church. He has spoken out on sensitive issues such as migration, climate change, and economic transparency, signaling a shift in the Church's approach to the world. Pope Francis's bold stances, particularly on climate change, have drawn criticism from some within the Church. His stark warnings about the future of the planet, suggesting that Earth could become uninhabitable without concrete action, have fueled intense debate. However, Cardinal Tagle, alongside the Pope, has remained unwavering in his commitment to these causes. They both understand that the Church cannot ignore the pressing issues of our time without compromising its relevance and moral authority. Despite their shared vision, Cardinal Tagle's rise within the Vatican has not been universally accepted. His leadership style, focused on dialogue, participation, and collaboration, often contrasts with more traditional views of Catholic theology. This has led to heightened expectations of his leadership and raised questions about the challenges he might face as he continues to navigate the complexities of church governance. One of the most significant of these challenges is the reform of the Vatican's financial institutions. Pope Francis has made it a priority to clean up the Vatican's finances, but this has sparked controversy. As part of the management team responsible for charitable activities, Cardinal Tagle supports these reform efforts, advocating for greater transparency and accountability. However, his push for reforms has put him at odds with entrenched power groups who have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo. Succession is another issue that adds complexity to the power dynamics within the Church. While Pope Francis has not indicated who might succeed him, the increasing visibility of Cardinal Tagle has led many to speculate about his future role. This has raised important questions about the direction the Church might take in the years to come. Conservative factions within the Vatican are likely to resist any further reforms, hoping to promote candidates who would maintain traditional values and resist the changes championed by Pope Francis and Cardinal Tagle. Behind the scenes, these ideological power struggles will play a major role in determining the future of the Church. These struggles extend beyond the Vatican and into dioceses across the world. As the Catholic Church navigates the challenges of the 21st century, it faces growing divisions between those who seek reform and those who wish to preserve traditional Catholic teachings. This divide has become increasingly apparent in the day-to-day operations of dioceses, where leaders are faced with the task of balancing local issues with the broader vision of the Church. The growing tension between unity and traditionalism is one of the defining features of this era in the Catholic Church's history. The question remains, how will these dynamics shape the Church's ability to address the challenges of the modern world? What role will leaders like Cardinal Tagle play in this transition? As the Church grapples with complex issues such as poverty, inequality, climate change, and interfaith relations, the leadership of figures like Cardinal Tagle will be crucial in determining its future. His advocacy for the poor, his dedication to human rights, and his commitment to interfaith dialogue all position him as a visionary figure amid the turmoil that the Church is facing. Cardinal Luis Tagle's journey within the Catholic Church is far from over, but his impact is already undeniable. His work on behalf of the marginalized, his defense of human rights, and his unwavering support for immigrants and the oppressed have marked him as one of the most influential figures in modern Catholicism. As the Catholic Church continues to navigate the challenges of the 21st century, Cardinal Tagle will undoubtedly play a key role in shaping its future, helping to ensure that it remains a force for good in an increasingly complex and divided world. Cardinal Luis Tagle is increasingly seen as a beacon of hope for progressive Catholics around the world, but his influence is not without its challenges. While Tagle works to promote change and adaptation within the Church, he finds himself navigating deep-rooted internal and external conflicts that threaten to stretch the institution to its limits. One of his greatest strengths is his ability to engage with people from all walks of life. Whether he's preaching to a gathering of followers in Manila or representing the Pope in the global arena, Tagle's humility and approachability have won him admiration from many. His shepherd-like leadership style stands in stark contrast to the rigid, institutional approach that has long dominated the Catholic Church. By promoting a more open and moving religion, Tagle is positioning himself as a revolutionary figure in the evolving landscape of Catholicism. Yet, the legacy he is building comes at a time of considerable volatility. While the number of priests and other representatives of the Church continues to decline in Europe and North America, the faithful in Asia and Africa are steadily increasing. This demographic shift presents both opportunities and challenges. It empowers the Church in some regions, but it also complicates the task of serving a vast and diverse congregation. Fortunately, Tagle's cultural sensitivity, being a non-Western figure himself, makes him well-equipped to navigate the complexities of the Church's growing presence in these regions. His experience with both tradition and modernity allows him to balance respect for the Church's heritage while addressing contemporary issues such as interfaith dialogue and climate change. In fact, Tagle's leadership on global issues like climate change highlights his forward-thinking approach. At the Paris Climate Change Conference, for example, he emphasized principles of fairness, equity, and social justice, issues that have become central to the Church's modern mission. However, this willingness to engage with modernity has not come without criticism. Conservative factions within the Church have accused him of straying too far from doctrinal matters, signaling the ideological divisions that characterize the current period of Catholic leadership. The extent to which Tagle can balance these competing demands will ultimately define his legacy. As the Catholic Church continues to evolve under Pope Francis's leadership, the question of succession looms large. Tagle's growing influence within the Vatican and his loyalty to Pope Francis make him a key figure in shaping the future of the Church. But the question remains, will his vision resonate with such a vast and often polarized global congregation? Cardinal Tagle's legacy is still being written, and the challenges he faces are immense. He leads within an institution that is both steeped in tradition and navigating rapid global changes. His ability to create hope, unite people, and drive forward a vision of healing, welcome, and renewal will ultimately determine how he is remembered. However, Tagle is not without competition for the papacy. One of his most prominent rivals is Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican's Secretary of State. Parolin, with his extensive experience in diplomacy and church governance, is widely considered a strong contender for the papal throne. Unlike Tagle, who is known for his pastoral approach and reformist tendencies, Parolin has a more traditionalist outlook. As Secretary of State, he has gained considerable respect for his ability to navigate the Vatican's complex geopolitical relations, and he is seen as a key figure in preserving the Church's influence worldwide. His Italian heritage also places him firmly within the traditional power structures of the Vatican, where the papacy has long been dominated by Europeans, particularly Italians. While Tagle is viewed as more closely aligned with the Church's outreach to the peripheries, Parolin is seen as a master strategist, skilled in managing the internal politics of the Church and working within its established hierarchy. This contrast between Tagle and Parolin reflects the broader tensions within the Church today. Tagle advocates for postmodern leadership, centered on inclusion, compassion, and a people-focused orientation. In contrast, Parolin embodies the traditional, diplomatic sensibilities that have long characterized Vatican administration. This ideological divide raises fundamental questions about the Church's direction in the 21st century. Should the Church lean further toward inclusive, forward-thinking leadership that prioritizes engagement with the people, or should it focus on maintaining the established clerical hierarchy? The competition between Tagle and Parolin is not just about two men vying for the papacy. It also underscores the ongoing struggle between tradition and reform within the Catholic Church. The election of Pope Francis, a nonconformist figure from Argentina, signaled a departure from the long-standing tradition of European papacies. However, Parolin's candidacy suggests a potential return to the traditional European dominance in the Vatican. This dynamic adds another layer of complexity to the succession debate, as it highlights the tension between the continuity of tradition and the need for adaptation to a rapidly changing world. Despite their differences, both Tagle and Parolin share a deep commitment to the Church's mission. They are passionate about the work of the Church, though their approaches differ significantly. Tagle's focus on reaching out to the marginalized and addressing pressing social issues contrasts with Parolin's more cautious, diplomatic approach. This conflict between the two men reflects broader tensions within the Church. Should the next pope continue the reforms initiated by Pope Francis, or should the Church return to a more traditional, hierarchical approach? Ultimately, the question of succession will determine the future of the Catholic Church. As the world becomes increasingly polarized and complex, the Church's ability to navigate these challenges will depend on the leadership style it chooses to embrace. The outcome of the Tagle-Parolin contest will shape the Church's direction for decades to come. As the debate over the future of the papacy intensifies, it raises an important question for all Catholics. What kind of leader do we need to guide the Church through these tumultuous times? Will it be someone who prioritizes people-centered leadership and inclusion, or someone who focuses on maintaining the Church's traditional structures and influence? The competition between Cardinal Luis Tagle and Cardinal Pietro Parolin offers a glimpse into the struggles facing the Catholic Church as it tries to navigate the complexities of the modern world. The outcome of this contest will not only define the future of the Church, but also determine how it responds to the challenges of the 21st century.